Well, so we're here to do the discussions. Please make sure that throughout next few hours, you are able to get interactive on Facebook, JoyNews on TV. You also watching us regularly on our YouTube channel, Major Online TV. But let me just introduce my guest for the morning. Manuel Chamantinge Jako is a member of Parliament for Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency. He's supposed to be joined by Neil Lante van der Poel, former Minister of Sports, but also currently a member of Parliament for the Ododo constituency. But let's move on. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Roland.
You've been getting the latest as far as the GFA office has been cordoned off, and now we're told that a committee is supposed to undertake all that, headed by COP, Kofi Boakye, and all. The latest as far as that is concerned. I believe we were sitting here last week, Tuesday, waiting for the premiere the next day.
Yes.
What have been some of your observations so far as that is relatedly is concerned?
Well, good morning, Roland.
Yeah, good morning to you.
Thank you for having me. Good morning to viewers. I must say that I have not had opportunity to watch the analysis film. I have heard of the things. I must say that I am not in shock, because I think that it's a stride knowledge. I mean, all of us have always known, or it has been said, that such hanky-panky happens in football all the time and in sports all over the world. I mean, Roland, international athletes have been stripped of their medals because they have been found to have done one thing or another in cycling. Armstrong, who had won the Tour de France, I believe.
Many times, seven times before, yes.
Very famous.
We have
Gatlin.
Is it Johnson?
No, Johnson never did.
Is it Ben Johnson? It's Carl Lewis. It's Carl Lewis who never did.
Carl Lewis never did. Ben Johnson did.
Yeah.
And in all the other sports, swimming, weightlifting, judo, football, and the issues about referees, I think that what Anas really did was just to confirm the suspicions with incontrovertible evidence. It is unfortunate. I really and truly must say it is unfortunate, the things we have heard. The challenge I have now is that there seems to be too many things going on. I think, government is in a process, is in some process, and then I can see GFA itself is trying to fight back with all sorts of moves. I hear that they have set up a committee under the chairmanship of Commissioner of Police Kofi Boakye to do something. Some constituent members of the GFA have had a meeting and decided on a certain line of action. I have also read that a committee headed by a certain lawyer here who refused to take money is being delegated to meet government on all of these things. Let's see how all of it pans out. For me, really, I think what we should look out for is, at the end of the day, will we have officials that manage football in this country who will be guided by integrity? Okay. I don't believe that there may be angels, but at least people must show some integrity. People must do the things that are right. People must stick to their briefs and do what is right by this country. Okay, that should be the honest expectation and desire of every Ghanaian. I really and truly don't care what happens to other people. They go to court, they get jailed. It's secondary. But what is important is that after this expose, my honest expectation, my honest desire is to see a clean up administration for football. When we all go to the stadium to watch football, it must be because there is on the field there the referee becomes the 12th player. Okay, and that in administration of football, it is not because I have been, a certain player has been, I am the uncle of a certain player, so I spoke to the GFA president and that he became a member of the Black Stars, willingly, whether he plays well or he doesn't play well. Things will be done in the best interest of this country. I mean, if we can arrive at that destination, then the work of Anas Arabia, Anas would have been beneficial to this country.
Yeah. Well, let's hear from the Information Minister, Dr. Mustafa Hamid, on the latest, whether the association has been dissolved, but we also know the Registrar General had been having a lot of say on the subject. Before we come to conclude and move on.
What I can tell you is gone and filed two things in the court, if you want. The first one is a petition seeking to liquidate the GFA, as indeed we indicated in our statement last week that we're going to take steps to get it dissolved. So that petition has been filed. Now, secondly, she's also filed what the lawyers call an ex parte motion seeking an injunction to restrain the GFA as presently constituted from operating or from doing any other form of business relating to football. So these are the two things that she's filed. The one that seeks to restrain or put an injunction on the GFA from doing any business relating to football will be moved and I think head tomorrow. And so once we get that injunction in place, then we can inform the Ghanaian people of the series of other things that we want to do in order to clean the stables, as it were, and to sanitize the environment and get Ghana football back on its feet.
There's a meeting scheduled with GFA executives with the government. Will the outcome of this meeting have any effect on these steps you've taken?
No. I mean, as I speak with you, all kinds of meetings are going on. You know, the Ghana Football Association itself has various bodies under it, CALCA and the rest of them. I mean, government, as represented by the Ministry of Youth and Sports, has been having meetings with all of these bodies. But none of these meetings is meant to preclude us from doing what we say ought to be done in order to sanitize Ghanaian football, which is to liquidate and get another new body in place to organize Ghanaian football.
And we want the whole industry or soccer or football to be sanitized. But how do we get it right? Perhaps how do we start the whole process? Have we started well? How do we also make sure that we synchronize what the statutes of FIFA, which is the governing body for the whole of soccer across
Association
the world,
football.
Yes.
I think it's the FIFA angle that makes it extremely difficult. But I want to believe that the actions government is taking is well thought through. So let us see how it pans out. But Roland, I still maintain, whether we do GFA or, like I was reading yesterday, we will move on to a Ghana Football Federation. What is important is that at the end of the day, we must sanitize football administration in this country. Yes, we must respect our international obligations and all of this. But I am also hoping that FIFA will clearly understand with the overwhelming evidence that has been presented in this expose. I cannot see how anybody will sit in Switzerland and say, no, we will not allow you to touch, we are sacrosanct. Indeed, even FIFA itself has had to go through a radical shake-up when the Americans decided to investigate what was happening. It ended up Sepp Blatter left, Michel Platini left UEFA. If things like this can happen in those jurisdictions, I really and truly don't see why, if we have challenges with integrity and running of proper administration of football in this country, we should not be able to do this. I hope that it will not be a clash, but we will find a good common point to do this for the sake of this country and football, for the sake of football in this country.
All right, they were told that government has petitioned the High Court to have the Football Association.
Yeah, I want to believe that it is a well thought through.
And according to sources, the petition, if granted, will give government the mandate to dissolve the Football Association according to what the company's code is or the act is. And the government in an earlier statement also said it was already taking steps to do all the process. So we'll see how that goes.
Let's see how it pans out. Let's see how it pans out.
Okay. There's a story that has dominated the headlines over the last, if not 36 hours, but 24 hours, about a 70-year-old man who had been taken around at least 7 facilities across our country. And he and his family, because he was not well, were seeking medical treatment. They had gone around 7 facilities and did not get the treatment ultimately, or as a result, we had an anticlimax. The man died. It's gotten social media and mainstream media agog, and there's this whole protest or perhaps crusade to make sure that no public health facility, or even the private ones, tend to declare no beds mantra when we have people or cases perhaps visiting those respective health facilities. And let me just pick your thoughts on this incident in the first place. What's your thoughts?
Roland, sad to say, but I think this is something that happens every time.
It shouldn't be happening, shouldn't it?
Absolutely. I think it happens every time. It is just that this one has become topical, and I am happy it has. I think we should completely relook or rethink healthcare delivery in this country. Okay. If anybody says that they want to establish, for me, these are just my thoughts, very native, I must admit. If anybody says he wants to establish a clinic, okay, I think it is important that we must ensure that a certain level of first aid is there. Number one. Okay. A certain level. And I don't see, I hear that he reported first to a certain private clinic and was told that it was beyond them. Yes, I can agree. As for referrals, it always happens. But I want to ask, at the first clinic, what did they just do? What did they do for him? Did he just come in, they looked at him and said, no, we can't do anything about this, so go away? My expectation, this is what I am driving at. My expectation is that you must begin a certain process with a referral. You just don't, I don't know. I am not saying that is what happened. But my expectation, my honest expectation, you know, Roland, just like the football, I am sorry to say, and I say this not intending to hurt the family, may the death of Prince Anthony Opoku-Acheampong not be in vain. I am hoping that it will spark major changes in healthcare delivery in this country. I really and truly, we should not just let this die after 1 week when there's another breaking news. I have heard the Director General of the Ghana Health Service says they will investigate it. I think they should. I think the Medical and Dental Council must get involved. Roland, I am saying that if you say that you are a clinic and you want to see patients, people that are not well, you must be able to initiate some first aid before you refer. I would want to find out. So the first place he went to, when they realized that they were not capable of.
Perhaps they didn't have an oxygen system. Perhaps you never know what sort of.
That is what I'm saying. That is why I'm saying that if you want to be looked on as a facility that will take care of people that are unwell, my expectation is that at least you must be able to have oxygen for emergency. You want to refer the man has come to you because you are telling everybody you are a hospital or you are a clinic. The expectation of the reasonable man is that when he goes in, he will be managed. But if he comes in and you just say, go away.
But even beyond that is that we have the public health facilities for which
I will come to that.
Okay.
Okay. Again, my expectation is that if something like this has happened, the man is, you have a provisional diagnosis, so if he needs oxygen, you probably have a can or two for emergency. Indeed, we must even begin to ask, at the time that Mr. Opoku-Acheampong, may he rest in peace, was there a doctor there? And if there's no doctor, why should the place be open? It is not just with clinics and hospitals. So we are waging a war with pharmacies. That the law says that if a pharmacy opens, there must be a pharmacist.
But we know that the law says one in the instance, but in reality it doesn't happen.
Yes, so that is why we must begin the debate. That is why the unfortunate death of Mr. Opoku-Acheampong, is that his name? Yeah. Prince Anthony Opoku-Acheampong should not be in vain. Let it be the beginning of a debate. All of us must be. I'm a healthcare professional, I'm a pharmacist. I think it is wrong for anybody to label his premises a pharmacy. And it is open and a pharmacist is not there. Similarly, if a hospital, whether it's a clinic or a hospital opens, the reason why I will go there is that I believe that there will be a doctor. I think we must begin to interrogate all of these things. I don't know. I am not saying there was or there wasn't. I don't know the facts. But I am only stating, I'm taking a very commonsensical approach to this. Okay. Then he gets to a public facility. And he's turned away on the lame excuse that there are no beds. When I used to work in college, people used to sleep on the floor every day. What has happened? And how do we regard emergencies? If a very ill patient comes in, my expectation is that the man is ill, it's an emergency. So take care of that. If they couldn't do it in a private clinic, my expectation is that in a public facility, there will be the things that are needed to manage an emergency. You see, I don't know. I am not a medical doctor, but I am sure that if he had some emergency care, he probably, I choose my words advisedly, he probably would not have passed. Okay. If he had had some emergency care in the first or in the second facility, but if he comes and he says, go away, there is no bed, you are obviously sentencing the man to a certain death.
Well, hold your fire. We have on the line the public relations boss of the Ministry of Health, Mr. Robert Kojo. Good morning to you, Mr. Kojo.
Good morning, my brother. How are you?
I'm fine. Do you have any code for accepting emergencies in public health facilities which have no beds? If you do, what is it?
Do
you have any guideline or perhaps any directive on how public health facilities would accept cases even though those facilities don't have hospital beds?
Yes, of course we have. But in the case of what happened to this our brother, Mr. Anthony Opoku-Acheampong, it's sad, unfortunate, shouldn't have happened. It's an indictment on our conscience as a people. At least this man should have been given first aid. None, I am told, none of the 7 hospitals that he was taken to even asked the family members to even, bring him in. He had to remain in the vehicle throughout the 1 hour 48 minute period that was spent moving this man around. At least we all know when you attend a hospital the first time, if you are active, you go for your folder. If you have a folder already that is taken, they check your vitals. You are referred to the medical doctor for consultation. you are given a prescription, you go to a pharmacy for your medication. These are the normal things that we all know that anyone who attends hospital should go through. But unfortunately for this man, we were told by his son Kwame that none of the hospitals even asked them to bring in the father for even a checkup. And this is the worrying thing that we are talking about for the past 3 days. I think going forward, but the Ghana Health Service held a meeting yesterday. They are looking at the issue and where some sort of sanctions needed to be applied, will be applied. But let me say that as a people, the ministry wouldn't deny the fact that there are equipment gaps in the various hospitals. We admit. But we can do more in the face of emergency situations. I keep saying that the attitude of Ghanaians of today is becoming worrisome. People don't want us to talk about it. Yes, of course, there are challenges in terms of the capacity of beds that we have around. But this situation could have been saved. 7 different hospitals. This man couldn't even be asked to be checked. Whatever he was suffering from, for him to go through 1 hour 48 minutes and finally has to lose his life. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. It's a very sad day for Mr. Anthony Opoku, Japan's family. I mean, the wife was there, his son Kwame was there, and I think there was another family member. For them to take a father who was complaining of being dizzy, and at the end of the day, they will be in the car seeing the father pass away. It's unfortunate. As a government, we will continue to do the best that we can. We all know that is the government that built the hospitals, fill it with equipment, trains health professionals, pays them, maintains hospital facilities, and all other things. But we can also help in our own small way. In fact, the Minister of Health has started saying certain things. I'm re-echoing what he has been saying. I am not saying it, but some people will not be happy that I say this. I think we have to be very careful in the handling of our internally generated funds. If we manage this very well, I think as a hospital we should be able to meet certain needs.
Mr. Kujo, you speak for the Ministry of Health. You work for the Ministry of Health. Do you acknowledge that many of the hospitals don't have the required beds?
Yes, of course. That is why I said by saying that we have made the fact that there are some gaps.
So do you have a directive for all medical facilities within the public sector to treat certain emergency cases or all emergency cases?
Yeah, yes, of course we have.
Is it a formal directive or just a word of mouth directive?
Oh, it's a formal directive. I think Dr. Appiah there was something to that effect. And
okay.
you know
is it written down?
No, we don't enforce.
Is it written down, Mr. Kujo? Is it written down? Is it a written directive?
Yeah, it is. There was a meeting yesterday by the Ghana Health Service, and they have revived that document, and all facilities throughout Ghana are being instructed to, as it were, going forward.
Mr. Kujo,
will be able to admit anybody who is reported to any facility in an emergency situation without saying there's no bed. This is an instruction that has been issued and is going to all the various hospitals. And we pray that the facilities will comply with this directive. And anybody who is found flouting this directive, asking any patient in an emergency situation to go back for the lack of bed will not be spared at all.
What will be the punitive measure?
Well, government sector, you could be dismissed. You could face prosecution if it comes out that it's criminal offense. All these are some of the measures that could be applied when somebody flouts the regulation. But unfortunately, as a nation, Roland, we hardly punish our people. Go to.
Well, you are the ministry. You should be.
Chapter 24, verse 25.
You should be enforcing the code.
Punish its people will not prosper. We hardly punish our people.
Now,
Hello?
now, Mr. Kojo, following that, then, are you going to investigate this peculiar case and other cases of such nature if they are brought to your attention, and then make sure the resulting punishment or punitive measures are meted out to those public institutions that have been named?
Yes, of course.
When are you going to start to doing that?
There was a meeting yesterday by Ghana Health Service, and the investigations have started because they have called the medical director of Legma Hospital to come and explain what actually happened that resulted in the death of Mr. Anthony Opoku Achampo on the 3rd of June 2018, that fateful Sunday. So some investigations are ongoing, but again, our punishment regime are not that punitive enough, and we all know this is something you wouldn't need somebody to tell you. We hardly punish our offenders.
Well,
if we continue in this tangent, it will affect all of us.
Well, you are the ministry. You are supposed to be the enforcing authority. So it's as if you are complaining and you work with the ministry. I don't know what you want the ordinary Ghanaian to do.
Roland,
yes, sir.
It's an issue that cut across not only the Minister of Health. We all know all sectors of our national life. When somebody does something, you see somebody going to plead on behalf of the person, and the person is let loose. This thing keeps occurring all the time. And if we continue this way, we will destroy ourselves, because a lot of issues are coming up in this world that we live in. A lot of new diseases are coming. A lot of challenges are coming. A lot of very difficult situations are coming. But if we don't sit up and correct certain things, if we don't sit up and right certain wrongs, and we make it as business as usual, it will be very difficult for us.
Well, thank you very much.
Whoever will be found culpable in this case should be punished. If nobody was found culpable, if the man died, he has to die or something, that's fine. But if somebody should have done something that the person did not do it, the person should be brought to book.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Robert Kojo.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's a PRO for the Ministry of Health. He's speaking to us, but it looks like he's sitting in my position and the position of the ordinary Ghanaian and lamenting. But he should be telling us.
I am just saying. Let me say it again. This must really be a watershed. We shouldn't allow things to happen like
because
this.
There are tens
I am
of other
saying that we must begin to define what a clinic is. If anybody wants to operate a clinic, my honest expectation is that we must insist that there is this and there is that and there is this. I am saying that.
But that's why we have the Ministry of Health. The Ministry of Health is so that we have all these enforcers.
The man from the ministry is even lamenting. So what will I that sit outside the ministry do? We must begin to ask. I hope that this investigation will go into all of these things. What happened at the first point? The private clinic that he went to. What emergency,
basic medical emergency,
basic first aid was rendered? We must ask these questions.
Right.
You understand? And in all the other places, we must begin to find out. Like I'm saying, Roland, I am not sitting here as a pharmacist condemning medical practice. I'm saying that even as pharmacists, we are beginning to ask ourselves some questions. If somebody says, I run a pharmacy, or I run a medical laboratory, or I run a diagnostic center, anything that is health related, the expectation is that if you run a diagnostic center, a qualified, certified medical laboratory scientist must be there. The tendency for the current medical practice is for all of us to leave it for subsidiary level, cadre of subsidiary level. You understand? So in a pharmacy, we all leave it to a technologist or a technician. In a hospital, sometimes they leave everything to a physician assistant or a senior nurse.
Well, we're told that only the politicians are looked after, well, prominent business people.
Who?
We're told that if you're a politician or a prominent business person in society, you will not face some of these challenges.
It's not true. It's not true.
Why is it not true?
Let me not to remind his family. If you have been died in a circumstance like this, look, Roland, emergency could happen to all of us. All of us could have a medical emergency.
Right.
And if we don't ensure that the minimum requirement is met. Look, I don't know what happened to this man, but with my limited knowledge as a health professional, I am certain that if some emergency care had been delivered to him at the first point of call, he would have gone to a second place and a third place, and he would have survived. You understand? But if you go and the lame excuse is that there's no bed. I am saying that I used to work in Kolebu. I go to Kolebu now.
You are saying this is no excuse?
No. There's no bed.
Something utterly went wrong.
Absolutely.
Human indiscretion.
Complete indiscretion.
Yeah.
And a failure to perform as professional.
All right. We've been joined by the Member of Parliament for Ododo, Neil Antivanderpoy, and we're just talking about a 70-year-old man. I'm sure he's one of many hundreds of cases across the country who are taken to medical facilities, whether private or public, but are not giving the emergency response treatment that they need before they are referred. And this time, went around 7 facilities, at least 1 private or 2 of them private, and still never got the care. But we're even focusing on the public ones. Just a few comments, and then we'll move on to the issue of a Ghana card and all.
Well, thank you very much. And first, let me apologize sincerely to our viewers for being late. This construction on this Malam Junction thing is really a problem.
You live in the central region?
Close to the central region. I left the house around 5:30.
I thought by this time they should have wrapped up.
Well, that's what they said, and they were wrapping up last weekend, but I still have some portion to do, and it's making... Well, let me say this. Just listening to the Deputy Minister for Justice, Anatoly Penga, narrating an ordeal he went through and lost the wife, nearly brought tears to my eyes. And just as my brother said, I think what we are not doing right is actualizing the emergency services of the health sector. You understand? For everyone who goes to any health facility, there should be the immediate assessment of the person's ailment. If the person's ailment is that of emergency, even if there is no bed, at least the first aid or the first attempt should be looked at, so that even if you are transferring the person from that point to the other, the next doctor who will be taking over may have some trace of what has been done.
Referral.
You understand? You don't just sack the person and say there is no bed, so go away. Because from the transition between your point and the next point of call, anything could happen. And we don't have the ambulance services that make it so expedient for somebody to be transferred in an emergency situation from one health facility to the other conveniently. So I think that I don't want to hold brief for the smaller hospitals, because the smaller hospitals are just supposed to undertake first aid and then make referrals to the major hospitals. But for a major hospital like Kolebu, like Ridge, or like any other,
but even for the small hospitals, to the extent that you have labeled yourself as a hospital providing health care, delivering health care.
You are saying that it's no excuse. You should have the basic.
There must be a basic. After all, Red Cross.
Yes.
Red Cross.
How did they do it? Yeah.
Red Cross, they give first aid.
Yeah.
You know, so if you are...
And they deal with serious issues too, ruptures.
And somebody comes with... And you have a provisional diagnosis.
Yeah.
maybe all you need to do is to put a drip or oxygen.
On the person.
So if you are a clinic and you can't do this, then really,
you shouldn't be operating.
no.
I think you see, it's all leads to the same issue that we've had recently. I think that case is a court, so I would not want to go into the details there or being for hospital thing. You see, sometimes our certification is a problem. We certify people, and then that's the all.
We don't follow up.
To see whether the people are responding to the conditions under the certification, to see whether the person, from the time of certification to the time of operation, has there been anything that really call for re-examination of the person's facility to see whether you can pass the person for the reason why you certified it. All these things are not done. And so I think that it's a sad situation. I just heard that all over the country we have just about 15,000 beds. It's woefully inadequate as a country, and we should try and see what we can do about this situation. That's why I'll be very happy to make my brother, since he's a very senior member of government,
No,
to try.
I'm a member of parliament.
Oh yes, by a senior member of parliament and a senior member of government. You are well respected. You are well respected in government, even though you are not a minister.
It's a pseudo minister.
To make.
I'm not.
I will plead that the government continue the vision of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama in making sure that we increase our health facilities in the country. It was the passion for John, and I think that as a country, sometimes I say that politically, let's say that look, for the next 4 years, what are our major priorities? If it is water, it is health. Let's focus on that.
But this time we're on education,
another country says,
and all
another government comes in. If it is road infrastructure, let's focus so that we can move, because we can't do everything within a period. So we should target ourselves, set ourselves priorities, and work on it, because the health issue is really a problem.
Africa. Well, let's move on. You know, there's an issue of the Ghana card. We're told that the minority had issued a statement boycotting, and just in Parliament yesterday, we had the Ghanaian Times, a couple of the media personnel we have go around, even though you were not sitting. You're supposed to have been there at least, start the whole process.
Was somebody going to pay for my transport?
Well, it's the Ghana card registration.
And yesterday wasn't a sitting day. So what do you expect me to do in Parliament?
No, but you don't have to use your working hours for that. That's what essentially
the person who was fixing the day, didn't the person know that Parliament doesn't sit on Mondays?
So it means that the minority is not going to participate at all.
No. You see, Roland, it's just a matter of principle. One, the people undertaking the Ghana card, that's the NIA people, informed Parliament that before the commencement of this, they will come and have a thorough discussions with Parliament as to the procedure and what to do. Parliament is a house of records. You come here, inform Parliament that you are coming on this time, at this time, within this period, to have a discussion with Parliament. So Parliament as a people will look through what you want to do to see whether, one, there is value for money, one, whether it is expedient, two, whether it is going to, to the objectives for which the country has said itself and committed money. You don't come. And then all of us, you expect us on our off day to leave whatever we are doing in our conference and come to Parliament.
Why not?
Why?
It's an off day.
When the person has disrespected us, disrespected the house, I'm coming, you don't come. 3 times. I'm coming, you don't come. I'm coming, you don't come. Then the day that we are off, you expect us to leave whatever we are doing in our conferences and come to Parliament. For what?
Is that the case?
Yes.
When was the NIA scheduled to come and start the process of the registration?
They said yesterday.
Okay.
But before that, they were supposed to meet Parliament. There have been 3 occasions they are supposed to meet us to discuss the whole details of that. They haven't. And let me say this. The minority chief whip has said he's made a lot of effort to get them to come and meet us. He hasn't. They haven't come. 2, there are a lot of questions about this whole thing. And seriously speaking, I don't think for us that is the most important thing, because whether we like it or we've passed the law and certain things must be done. We've done the amendments and all, certain things must be done. And let me be frank with you, nobody has a problem with the Ghana card. The Ghana card initiation was started as far back as 2009. So we are aware.
Ghana card.
Yes.
2006.
Okay. It's even good. So because the reason why I'm saying, because I happened to be a deputy minister at the time when this issue came up, and I had to travel with the former head of statistical service to participate in the vital statistics registration conference in Cote d'Ivoire. And so I know that there has been everybody wants it. The whole Africa, we are talking about it. But the issue has to do with, for example, the conditions under the registration. If you say that the only certification for you to be registered under the Ghana card is possibly a passport or a birth certificate.
Nobody has said that.
But that's what they said.
But
Nobody has said that.
There is an amendment to it that for which there's a criteria for some guarantee.
Do you know there is a Supreme Court? Do you know there is a Supreme Court decision on this?
On what?
A guarantor.
Do you know there's a Supreme Court?
Have you gone through the amendment yourself? The amendment that you passed.
My brother.
My brother. I'm asking you. You are in Parliament.
My brother.
Have you gone through the amendment yourself?
Yes.
Okay. So let me just read some of the provisions that have been made for you.
He sits here and says that the only thing you can do is a passport. Don't deceive
and birth certificate. And birth certificate. I didn't say passport.
You can bring people to guarantee.
What are you saying? So bring people to guarantee.
But when we're registering, don't we bring people to guarantee for us?
Excuse me.
But what was the last Supreme Court judgment?
What is
the Abu Ramadan?
Excuse me, the two of you. So the National Identity Register Amendment Act 2017 Act 950 states, and I read, the initial section A makes the documents that need to be available for the registration as a birth certificate, a valid passport,
yes,
a valid residence permit,
yes,
a valid certificate of acquired citizenship,
yes,
and any other information as may be required,
yes,
by the authority.
Yes.
Okay.
Go on.
And B,
yes,
by the Constitution for subsection 2,
yes,
of where etc. is required. You can have a relative of the applicant to identify the applicant under oath.
Yes.
Yes.
Or,
under oath.
Yes.
Yes. Or two persons determined by the board to identify.
Determined by which board?
The
NIA board.
identification board through
Yes.
the NIA in itself. So to the applicant under oath, where the applicant has known relatives.
Yes.
When the applicant has no relative. Known relative.
Yes.
So what are you saying?
So to what extent
And
do
what
you
we are
want
saying
us to
that
go
there
to?
is limitation to that.
What is the limitation?
The limitation is one. The only valid things that they are asking for is the passport and the birth certificate.
No.
The other ones are saying under certain conditions.
If you have a valid residence permit.
Yes.
If you have.
Yes. If you don't have any of these things.
If you have.
Why are you saying the valid, why the valid resident permit? Why the because
somebody
through marriage
or any
a
valid certificate
we're
of
talking about
acquired
Ghanaians
citizenship.
Yes.
Yes. We're talking about Ghanaians.
Any other information required.
Indigenous Ghanaians.
Yes.
Yes.
So these ones pertain to people who will be married to foreigners or foreigners who will be married to Ghanaians. That's why you brought the resident permit.
But we need to cater for
we are
all
talking
of them.
about Ghanaians.
Yes.
Two Ghanaians, what does it talk about? Passport, birth certificate,
yes,
and two persons as witnesses. And we say it is not enough.
What again?
It's not enough.
What again? He says that bring two people. Bring two people.
So if the person is in my Anyapo.
So you're saying we can use a voter's ID? Are you saying we can use a voter's ID?
But why shouldn't they? Who says that? So
voter's ID. What is wrong with voter's ID?
And which other one?
And what is what?
And which other
one? So if
one?
they don't add it, so what?
And which other
one?
one?
I'm saying that is what will make more Ghanaians have access to the registration.
That is what.
But what you are saying, what you are
thought. When we were doing the voters register, when we were doing the source was that when we were doing the voters register, it says that you can bring two people to verify to guarantee for you. So what?
Verify for you.
No, listen. You can bring two people to verify for you during the voters register.
Yes.
You are talking about Ghana card, which to you involves so many other issues and not just about voters card. You understand? And that we are saying that when you use only the two people as guarantors, you'll be limiting people. But
why?
Listen.
What is the limit?
What is the limit?
You tell us.
Assuming those two people come, and the boy do not certify those who are known, what do you have? Because there's a condition to it.
So which other one do you? Which other?
We are saying the best. The voters' ID card is more flexible.
Which one? I've heard somewhere the national health insurance. You want the national health insurance?
Didn't you go to court to cancel the national health insurance as a mode of registration? Didn't you go to court?
Yeah.
Who went to court? Roland didn't go to court.
No, you.
Me?
I'm referring to you.
Me?
Yes.
I didn't go
but
to
you
court.
sent Ramadan to court. Ramadan went to court on your behalf.
Look, don't.
And
this is condescending.
No. You
but
graciously.
Ramadan is an adult.
No, you graciously offered him a job because of what he did.
Oh, come on. So you were offered a job because of what you did for
the work I did for the NDC.
Oh, come on. Okay.
Yes.
If you say so.
Oh, yes.
If you say so.
So it means that
but
if I don't work for party, I won't get in.
You see, Roland. You see, Roland.
Listen.
I mean, I feel very sorry.
Listen, I am part.
I feel very sorry.
Was Ramadan part of APP?
I feel very sorry for my brother. He's my. We speak the same language. He's my brother. Look at this argument. He came here and
said
that.
The same argument.
What argument? What's wrong?
It looks like the same argument. Like for example, they are.
Excuse me, Roland. Am I permitted?
Yes, you're on the floor.
He came here and created the impression that it is only passport and ID card.
Yes.
Then he said, "Let me read
the provisions of the amendment."
The provisions of the amendments. Let me leave out naturalization and
residence.
Let me leave that one out. He goes on to
those
say,
who are not Ghanaians who in the first place. They are only Ghanaians by.
But if you naturalize, you are Ghanaian.
Listen.
Please let him have his way. Yeah. Just please, you're on the floor.
He goes on to say that in the event that you don't have a passport, in the event that you don't have a birth certificate, go and find two relatives. I can imagine my people who live in Akumesu. No registration. But everybody knows that now it's the son of Tetewayo and Dewi. So if they go and say this is our son, everybody in Akumesu knows that. No, this what is wrong with it?
You think there's nothing wrong with it?
What is wrong with it?
Oh, you see,
what is wrong with it?
I'm saying that.
Look,
I'm saying that.
In Swalaba.
Yes. Yes.
In Swalaba, no. Actually, I know there because my roommates grew up there, so we used to come there very often. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows that this is Sato's grandson. It's no
more the case now.
Oh, come on.
It is no more.
Everybody knows.
It is no more.
I say everybody knows. We have been living there. They know us. I think that it is the best way to handle it. In the event that you don't have this,
you can make a case.
That is what you people did. And then later on, your vice president went around saying that people in the voter region are Togolese. Because people were
the vice president never said that people in the voter region are Togolese. Oh. Look,
are you a stranger?
Well, he didn't say that.
What did he say?
But I have a sister.
What did
who
he
is Togolese.
Say?
You do?
I do.
Who is a Ghanaian too?
Who is a Ghanaian? The father is Ghanaian, the mother is Togolese. I have a sister who is Togolese.
She's a registered voter here?
She's not a registered voter because she bears Togolese.
But what's wrong with that?
So if she wants to come and register here, she should come and do dual citizenship. Nothing stops her. But to the extent that she has not done, she cannot vote
so
here.
She does not even need to do a dual citizenship. By parentage, she qualifies. She doesn't need to come and have any documentation.
She does. She must have some documentation.
Birth certificate or something of the sort.
Well, you see, you hold a citizenship of one country.
Okay, I get your point.
She chose.
Very
it's a choice she made.
Very well.
Okay.
Very well.
Nothing stops her. She can just go through the process and become a Ghanaian and vote.
Regularize.
Regularize.
Okay.
Look, we admit that just like my sister, there are many Ghanaian Togolese.
Oh, the vice president doesn't know.
Everybody knows.
Oh, and he knows, and he made that statement.
But if you make a choice, all we are saying is that regular. I don't know what is eating anybody up.
No, but
I really and truly don't know. I didn't listen. I hear that former President Mahama was there in Aflao and saying they will resist by every what?
Yeah,
resist by what?
Every legitimate means.
Yeah.
Were you at Aflao?
Why?
Yes, what is the if
asking?
anybody feels uncomfortable, they can go to court. Abu Jarafa went to court.
Yeah, but who said?
In any case,
who said anyone has
let me also add that it is not entirely true that the NIA has disrespected Parliament. They are coming to meet us today.
Oh, so why did they decide to do the registration yesterday when they know they are coming to meet us today?
But the criteria for meeting you or the condition for meeting you is not dependent on them.
It was. Before they start, they had to meet us.
No, but they've started the process of registration. The registration can
Before
go on simultaneously with them.
I'm saying before they start, that was the condition under which an agreement was done.
Right.
Now before they come to start the program, they come to meet us in Parliament.
All right, our time is up.
Oh, when?
Right, because you were late. But I wanted to say, if I can have some 5 minutes, you know, Kenny GVG, there's a case in court.
Yes.
And the surrounding commentary from Imani Ghana is about the concerns being raised of the telcos, that there could be some breach of trust and people's conversations, etc., could be listened to, and all the other arguments. I'll just give you 2 minutes to take a look at the ongoing argument with the issues that have been said, etc.
Well, yesterday 2 Ghanaians have gone to court to ask the court to put a stop to the whole business of this Kenny GVG. The reason why they are asking that against the Constitution of Ghana, people's privacy and people's freedom could be trampled upon if this transaction is allowed to go ahead. Just in sync with what the telecos themselves have been arguing and talking about. And also Imani has also severally talked about this. I think that in all this, I can't say that the telecos are lying. We can't say that Imani is not truthful. And we can't say that these 2 Ghanaians who have gone to court are not concerned about their independence, their privacy, and their freedom. So I think sincerely that government should listen to people who are complaining. People value their rights, freedoms. I don't want anyone to be listening and ghosting on my conversation with Mamavi. You understand? I'm expecting to have the freedom to say what I want to say, provided it does not go against the laws of this country, provided it is not about people conspiring. You know. So I think to some extent the intransigence of government to listen to people who have expressed opinion about the lack of transparency in these activities and also possible flouting and abuse of their freedoms should be looked at.
Just 2 minutes, sir.
Well, I am happy that we have come to this point. You know, when this matter started, it was presented as some huge fraud had been perpetrated on the good people.
But the fraud aspect is there. The fraud aspect is there.
By everybody who spoke about it.
The fraud aspect is there.
I think all the concern is about whether we need its value. You know,
yeah,
then it brings value to us.
Initially, they created the impression that this thing didn't go through due process. It was tainted with fraud and all of this. Then they have moved away from it substantially to issues of value for money and all of this. Now, they have raised issues which I think are fundamental. That in the process, the architecture is such that there is a possibility. The construct is such that there is a possibility that it will infringe on people's liberties, the right to free conversation, the right to send videos and pictures that they want. What they are doing, they may be able to tap into people's rights. Of course, in this country, there's a big data protection law. Okay. A law that says that you cannot enter. People have argued and talked about metadata and all of this. It is good. Me, I don't worry at all. If people think that their rights are infringed, that is why we're a democratic country. Let the court decide. It's fine. I am happy that today the issues are not that they have gone to court because it is fraudulent. I am happy that they are not going to court because there was no due process in the contract administration. I am happy. I am happy that people are beginning to talk about human rights. It's okay. I mean,
but the issue on the fraud and the cost is also the
my colleague.
Imani has gone to court.
My colleague, I say that the matter before court is a matter of human rights. I am happy that nobody went to court because due process was not followed in the award of the contract. I am happy that nobody can go to court, or nobody has gone to court to say that the contract was fraudulent.
So your point is that they just keep shifting the goalpost.
They have shifted the goalpost.
It's
okay.
Human rights.
Human rights. It is human rights is everybody's right. If there is, I don't want anybody to listen into my conversation. I don't.
So you're not worried about all the concerns being raised by the applicants or the petitioners to the court?
What concerns have they raised? Now it boils down to human rights. People will listen into our conversation. It's fine. No issues.
Well, Ivano Chamantinge is a member of parliament for Ayawaso West Gong constituency. He's been in the studio with Nilante Van der Poy, member of parliament for the Odododio constituency. Today was late because of the complaint he has this morning about the Malam rehabilitation activities of a drain just after before the Malam intersection or the overpass, which is delaying the commuting of people to and fro from the area. If you live close to a central region, usually you face some of these difficulties. Good morning to you, sir. Frustrating, eh? Okay. But you're going to the house today?
Yes.
Yes.
Well,